invalidated.com, the home for intelligent black people. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins, and I like to think that I'm an intelligent black man, but I'm going to tell you what, sometimes I question that assumption, especially when we talk about things like the ones we're going to discuss today. Now, how many of you, give me a yes in the chat, how many of you have student loans? If you are a victim of the student loan crisis in America, put a yes in the chat. Everybody that's been hit by student loans, say something, because student loans have been an absolute beast in this country. Student loans have caused a lot of financial chaos. Student loans are the number one reason that black wealth has not gone up, that black wealth is actually going down. It's the number one reason that black wealth is expected to go to zero by the year 2053. Give me a yes if you've seen that, if you've seen that statistic that black wealth is supposed to actually disappear. So student loans are just kind of a chaotic thing. Student loans are something that that really has ripped an economic hole in the black community. It's harmed millions of young people. There are millions of young people that can't pay their student loan debt. And so what I want to do in this conversation is I want to sort of help you contextualize this topic. Now, before I begin, do me a favor. Please hit the thumbs up button, thumbs up, share, subscribe. Let me know what city you're from. If you state your city, and if I see it, I will shout it back out. Also, we are B1 on this platform. That means we're black first, which means we love ourselves. We put our community at the top of our priority list. And drboycetv.com is the home for intelligent black people. All right, so let's get this cracking. All right, so first off, how many of you heard that Joe Biden's student loan proposal was shot down by the Supreme Court? Did anybody else see that? Isabel from Denver and and Melanie Miller from let's see, I didn't see what city Melanie Miller is from. I'm sorry. And I see William from Atlanta and Jared from Chicago. B1 to you too. How many of you saw that? So Biden basically canceled student loans. And or Biden didn't do it. I'm sorry. Biden promised student loan forgiveness, and it was canceled by the Supreme Court. And in that, the Supreme Court basically interprets the law. They pretty much look at what people are saying they want to do, what Congress wants to do, and then they decide if the law allows them to do it. So recently, the student loan debt forgiveness was shot down by Biden, by the Supreme Court. I keep saying by Biden. Biden didn't do this part. He's done a lot of stuff, but he didn't do this one. He actually wanted to forgive student loan debt, which I actually supported. And also this week was interesting because affirmative action was hit pretty hard too. If you saw, the Supreme Court also shot down affirmative action. So, and this was mainly in college admissions. So basically, the Supreme Court has been all over the place. They don't want affirmative action. They don't want student loan forgiveness. And this is largely due to the fact that the court is very conservative. Now, the student loan forgiveness wasn't anything to write home about. It was just, I think there was a cap on it that was really, really low. Maybe it was $10,000 or something like that. And most of you actually owe a lot more than that. I did a survey, and Quincy, if you could put that on the screen and show everybody, we did a survey on drboycetv.com, and I asked you all, well, how much student loan debt did you have? Now, 47% of you have no student loan debt, which is good. I clap for you. That's a good thing. That's you deserve all the applause. Shout out to everybody who was smart enough not to get student loans. Absolutely. Now the rest of you, here's where you stood. About 20% of the respondents have over $50,000 in student loan debt. Carmen Evans says she has $20,000 in debt. And so student loans are just kind of like, I call it a financial STD. It's a financial STD that doesn't go away. And, no matter how many trips you take to the clinic, and what it does is, unfortunately, it causes a lot of our people to die with less wealth than you had when you were born. Like, literally, there are millions of college graduates, and I'm not making fun of you if you're in this category, but there are millions of black people who literally are going to die with a net worth that is lower than that of a newborn baby. Give me a yes if you think that is absolutely the most trifling, insane crap that you've ever heard in your life. I think that's crazy. You literally think about this, process this, right? I heard a guy say this. He talked about scams and financial scams, and is the stock market a scam, and businesses, business scams and all that. He said the biggest scam on earth in America, he said, is a job. Right? That literally a job in America is something where you work your butt off for 50 years and then you have less money at the end than you had when you started. And so if a job is the biggest scam in America, student loans are right there at number 2. They're like the Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen of financial scams. That is the economic trap. That is the corporate plantation. That is slavery in a nutshell. Basically, you have people that literally, I mean, these are supposed to be the talented 10th. These are supposed to be the black people that are supposed to lead us out of this thing, right? These are our black leaders. These are the ones who are supposed to make your family, put your family in a better position than they were before. And unfortunately, half of all black college graduates default on their student loans. Did y'all hear what I said? Half of all black college graduates default on their student loans. So if you're defaulting on these loans, then your economic situation's screwed. You're not going to be able to go and do the things that wealth builders do. It's hard to buy a house. It's very difficult to start a business. It's very difficult to quit your job. So to some extent, it's a type of shall we say, sharecropping. It's really corporate sharecropping. So anyway, as we move forward, do me a favor. Please hit the thumbs up button, thumbs up, share, subscribe. I want to mention a sponsor of this podcast really quick. If you will allow me to support a black-owned business that's helping to sponsor this podcast. This is a nutrients, bodynaturalnutrients.com. Bodynaturalnutrients.com. You can go to that website to conquer chronic inflammation, pain relief with very healthy plant-based solutions. I don't know if you're over the age of 40, you need to listen up. And if you're under the age of 30, you still need to pay attention, because when you hit 40, it's going to start catching up with you. And basically, bodynaturalnutrients.com, they have supplements that can help you to deal with that kind of thing. And I take supplements every day. I don't take this supplement though, but I'm going to try it. Because literally you'll find that that inflammation is actually the number one reason that black people or any people have a lot of pain as you get older. So consider bodynaturalnutrients.com. All right. So and thank you for sponsoring this podcast. And also, if you'd like to sponsor an episode or get a shout out, just go to drboycefinance.com. That's drboycefinance.com. All right. So let's jump back into this. So we're talking about student loans. And as we talk about student loans, I want to point out something. There's a politician named Chris Palumbo Chris, if I got your name wrong, man, forgive me, brother. But he's actually a white dude, but he said something that was really, really interesting and really relevant to this conversation. I put it on my Instagram. My Instagram is The Real Boyce Watkins. And what Chris stated is something that a lot of people do not know. Chris mentioned that, or he's making the argument that Joe Biden did not even have the authority to forgive your student loans, that he made a campaign promise that he could not keep. And I'm going to play this video for you guys. I want you to listen to this video and kind of give me your thoughts on this. So I'm wondering if this was even possible in the first place. So go ahead, Quince. You can play that video.
The President of the United States has the power for debt forgiveness. He does not. He can postpone, he can delay, but he does not have that power. That has to be an act of Congress.
Well, I can't believe I'm saying this, but Nancy Pelosi is absolutely correct. Article 1 of the Constitution says Congress owns the power of the purse. And Joe Biden knew he didn't have the power to forgive or cancel all student debt. He made that promise with the intent to gain voters. And the Supreme Court quoted the then Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, in their decision. So with the rhetoric that some Democrat politicians are pushing out nowadays, does that make Nancy Pelosi some kind of grand super MAGA extremist? I don't know. I'm just trying to keep up with their lingo of how they vilify those who disagree with them nowadays.
People think that
Interesting, right? So what about that? I mean, did anybody else know that maybe Biden didn't even have the authority to grant student loan forgiveness in the first place? And then there's the ethical question of whether or not people were being played and lied to, whether they were kind of feeding you the rope-a-dope. I'm not saying this was deliberate. I'll say this, partly in the defense of Biden to some extent. There was something many years ago called the HEROES Act. And our son pointed this out to us earlier. The HEROES Act was right after 9/11. And they created the HEROES Act, where they pretty much promised student loan forgiveness and cancellation for in the event of things like national emergencies, things like that. It says the Higher Education Relief and Opportunities Act, or Opportunities for Students Act, grants the Secretary of Education authority to reduce or eliminate the obligation to repay the principal balance of federal student loan debt, including on a class-wide basis in response to the COVID-19 pandemic, provided all other requirements of the statute are satisfied. So it looks to me like that was written around the time of the pandemic, right? And so it looks like the general counsel basically made the opinion that the HEROES Act gave them the authority to cancel student loans, I guess, because they said that in the event of a national emergency, you could do that. So apparently, maybe this is what the Biden administration was leaning on, and the Supreme Court shot that down. They pretty much said, screw you, you can't do this. And now they're kind of shuffling, and Biden's giving, these convoluted propaganda speeches to try to muffle his way through it. But the Supreme Court, if you look at the Supreme Court, you'll see that the court is very conservative. You have on the left, you have, or theoretically, or in the red, how about that? On the red side, you've got all the allegedly conservative justices, and then on the other side you've got the liberal justices who all happen to be women. And it looks like this is kind of the source of a lot of these decisions lately, right? You saw Roe versus Wade was pretty much shot down. You saw affirmative action was pretty much shot down. Student loan forgiveness was pretty much shot down. So if you're liberal, you're not going to like this. If you're liberal, you're not going to like it. If you're conservative, you say hallelujah, you're happy about it. I'm going to say this on this platform. When people ask, are we liberal or are we conservative? I say, you know what? In every election, I vote for black people. That's it. I just vote for black people. And that's, so that means if you are conservative, you're welcome here. If you're liberal, you're welcome here, as long as you're black first. I think that's what's really important. So the thing is with student loan debt, and this is something I want to talk about just from a financial standpoint. I'm gonna put on my finance professor hat for a minute. And there is a massive growth in student loan debt that's occurred over the last 20 or 30 years. Student loans have become not just the financial STD for people, but it's literally just this pandemic sort of virus where you can see over the years how the average college graduate's debt has skyrocketed year after year after year after year after year. Right. You're literally seeing this crazy scenario where ultimately the student loan debt has just come to cripple a lot of our college graduates. And the other thing that people don't talk about is that the average salary of college graduates has not been going up. You would think that with all this debt, they'd be making a kill and making a ton of money. No, the salaries are actually going down. And also employers aren't looking for people that have pieces of paper. They're looking for people with skill. So in many cases, a young person with no degree who has job applicable skill will get more opportunities than somebody with a piece of paper and no skill. So can I get a yes if you understand what I'm saying, that you got to make sure your kids have skill, and you also have to make sure that they have skill in managing their wealth. They have to understand what wealth looks like. And if you're deep in debt and you can't get out, then it doesn't matter how hard you work. It doesn't matter how many degrees you got. I know a lot of people that look real fancy in their nice luxury cars and their big pretty houses, wearing these $2,000 suits, going to these fancy business meetings, who are drowning in debt. There's a video I saw, a TED Talk of a black woman who gave a TED Talk where she said, I'm from Harvard and I have a Harvard MBA. And I think she said, I have a Harvard MBA, but I'm broke. Or it was something like that, where this woman was literally speaking about how she, as a Harvard graduate, was hanging out with a lot of highfalutin type people and going to these fancy events at these expensive dinners where the bill was super high. And she would look in her bank account and she said, I'd have like negative $120 or something like that. So what I want you to do is I need you to let go of the illusion. I need you to stop believing the nonsense and start making dollars and cents. I need you to stop buying into the fake American dream and buy into a real dream that makes sense to you, right? So civil rights are nice, but silver rights are even better. And you can't have those silver rights if you don't understand where the silver is located. Now, one thing I want to mention to everybody really quick is I have a new book out. It's called The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power. It is an Amazon bestseller. Everybody loves it, so you can get a copy on Amazon. Also, I want to let you guys know that if you'd like to get stock alerts, every week I send out a stock pick of the week that I like, a stock that's not investing advice, but it's a stock that I like. You can get on my text list. If you text the word stock to 31996. You can get Dr. Boy's profit alerts sent to you every single week. And also, if you text the word stock to 31996, we'll start off with me sending you a list of AI stocks that are going to blow up, that I believe are going to do extremely well with this whole AI technology revolution. And also, every single week, I'll text you something involving a stock that I like for that week. So if you want to get Dr. Boy's profit alerts, just text the word stock to 31996. Now, do me a favor. Please hit the thumbs up button. Thumbs up, share, subscribe. We're talking about student loans and the fact that debt forgiveness has kind of been nixed by the Supreme Court. Affirmative action is pretty much dead. Also, student debt has been going way, way up. And one thing I want to talk about specifically before we get done here is I want to talk about black women. You know, I'll tell you what, I love y'all black women. I really do. I've defended you. I was defending you this morning as we were talking about a comedian who had some things to say about black women and also about me, and I had to stand up and deal with that. And one of the things I admire and honor about black women is y'all have really been killing it when it comes to education. Give me a yes if you are aware of just how amazing black women have been when it comes to getting the degrees, when it comes to starting the businesses. Black women are leading the world right now when it comes to educational achievement, and I just love it. I rarely know a black woman who isn't trying to go back to school for something, right? And I think that this is awesome. I think we should be proud of this. We should not make them feel bad about this. But one thing about that, one side effect of this high educational achievement is student loans. And if you look at the statistics on student loans, you'll find that black women are the ones who are the most affected by student loan issues. Black women actually aren't just the ones who are most affected by student loan issues. They're also the ones who were most likely to show up and vote for Joe Biden. About 93% of all black women voted for Joe Biden, and many of them voted for Joe Biden because there was a belief that Joe Biden was going to be able to follow through on his student loan promise. And so it makes sense to some extent that black women would lead the charge on that issue because student loan debt, and Quincy, if you put that other chart up with the debt levels for different ethnic groups, black women are at the top of the pile in terms of the amount of money that you owe for that degree. You see right here on this chart, African-American women are above everybody else at $41,466. And then I guess second on that list would be Pacific Islander, Hawaiian women. White women are at about 33,000. Black women are at 41,000. So I think a lot of this is due to either A, black women are getting more education than everybody else, and then B, black women have less of an inheritance than everybody else, so they're not able to get the same financial support that they might get if they were a white woman. So really, I get it, right? I think that student loan forgiveness is an important issue. I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm not real impressed with the amounts, though. I'm just not impressed with the amounts. If you recall, first of all, student loan debt, let me just tell you this. Student loan debt is an invalid, illegitimate debt, just to begin with. Nobody should be paying $60,000, $70,000 for a year of college. Nobody should be doing that. In the Black Business School right now, we have the same experts, same PhDs, same lawyers, same doctors, same wealth builders. Our dean of real estate is Julian Gordon, who's helped black people acquire $250 million in real estate. We've done all these things, and most of our students pay just a few $100s total. Like literally. So you can educate people for a very small amount of money. So if you want to actually get a great business education, go to the Black Business School, theblackbusinessschool.com. We educate at a very high level. My PhD is 100% real. And we've been featured on major media outlets because we're damn good at what we do. So to some extent, we are just the evolution of the HBCU. We're the HBCU that doesn't have to beg for money. We're the HBCU that doesn't have to depend on corporate sponsors. We're the HBCU that doesn't have to be afraid of racist white people. We're the HBCU that can focus on wealth. We're the HBCU, the only HBCU in the country that makes powernomics our defining, unifying vision, and we have the ability to execute that at a high level. And the best part about it is that you can actually start for free. So if you go to theblackbusinessschool.com, somebody type that in the chat for me so that you'll have that. It's theblackbusinessschool.com. You can actually get started for free. We do Powernomics training every Wednesday for the entire community. Anybody that wants to come, even white people are invited, because you should be learning from black people, because intelligent black people, B1 people, we are the best on earth when it comes to wealth building. We're literally, our children are going to be the leaders of the entire planet when it comes to building economically. Why? Well, because we're talking about wealth. We're talking about the real estate. We're investing for our kids at an early age. So feel free to go check it out in the Black Business School. We're doing it on an epic level. Now, let me sort of give you some closing thoughts in terms of how to kind of process all of this. Politics requires a lot of patience for me. I can't really talk much about politics without sounding like a cynic. You know, I was talking to my good buddy D1, who is one of the best rappers alive and a super smart guy. Right now, he's at Harvard University. That's how smart he is. We were on the phone 20 minutes ago, and we were talking about culture, and we were talking about some of the issues in the community. We were talking about things like the BET Awards and how ratchet the BET Awards were. Just how the BET Awards, he was there. He was, I don't know if he performed, but I know that he's performing at the Essence Fest this weekend. And I know that he was at the BET Awards, maybe doing something on the red carpet. That is my buddy. He's like a relative for me. And we were talking about the fact that there's so many things that are happening in the Black community in terms of culture, economic culture, family culture, the way we treat each other, the way we deal with each other. That's just so unhealthy and so bad, you know. And we were talking about whether it's worth the fight sometimes, you know, like how do you fight this? How do you fight it when you've got billion-dollar companies that are saying to people that Black culture is toxic, that Black culture is garbage, that Black culture should be built around death, that Black people just are pretty much worthless, and we see ourselves as worthless. It's really, really hard, you know. And what I said to him was, I said, you know, I think that there are millions and millions of people out there who want to change things, who want to do things different. There are millions of people out there that if you're snapped out of your programming, you can actually grow and evolve. And one of the things I want to lay out for you is in terms of an idea that some of us may not get, but I want to just lay it out there for your consideration, is to basically say these politicians are not going to solve your problems. Joe Biden, I hope that his student loan debt forgiveness goes through, but that's not going to make a big difference in the world of Black people. I showed y'all a chart earlier where literally 19% of you that responded owe more than $50,000 in student loans. And that's 19% of the total. If you take out the people who don't owe anything at all, and you look at everybody who has student loan debt, you're really not talking about 19%. You really have to double that number almost. You have to go to about 38 to 40% of you have student loan debt over $50,000. I'm talking about those of you who actually owe debt. That's why I took that 19 and I doubled it, because half of you ain't got no debt. Half of y'all living debt free. So I congratulate you for that. So really, the solutions are not cute little Democratic Party or Republican Party programs. The solution is not something very basic and simple or easy to implement. It's not going to be, it's not going to come from white people. Black people are going to have to solve this problem, and you're going to have to solve it in a very radical way. You're going to have to be radical. You're going to have to raise your kids different. You're going to have a different set of values. You're going to have to do different things with your money. You're going to have to be thoughtful about how much student loan debt you take on in the first place, because student loan debt is an invalid debt for the most part in general. What they're going to probably do when they talk about reparations is the first thing they're going to address with reparations is probably something like student loan forgiveness. They're going to say, as part of your reparations plan, we're going to forgive $20,000 of student loan debt for every Black person. But the thing is that is an imaginary debt. The reason that's an invalid debt is because they overcharged you in the first place. The debt never should have existed. It's like if I see you and you're hungry and you say, yeah, can I get something to eat? And I say, yeah, I got a candy bar. And you say, how much is it? I say, oh, it's $800. The Snickers bar is going to cost $800. And you say, but a Snickers bar shouldn't cost $800. I say, don't worry. You don't have to pay me any money now. Just sign this piece of paper and you'll owe me $800 and you can just pay me $50 a month until the debt's paid off plus interest. That's not a valid debt. That's not a valid debt. That is on the border of usury or almost criminality, in the sense that you shouldn't be $800 in debt for a candy bar. Give me a yes if you understand what I'm saying. So the same way you shouldn't be $800 in debt for a candy bar that somebody extorted you into buying because you were hungry and you would sign anything to get food, you shouldn't be $100,000 in debt to get a college education, which maybe cost $15,000 for them to deliver to you. Paying $15,000, $20,000 should be the norm for 4 years of college. This $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 stuff, that's just universities taking advantage of the fact that the government made funding available for anybody any crazy 18-year-old willing to sign their name on a dotted line. I don't know about you all, but when I was 18, I wasn't very smart. I wasn't thinking. I was like, yeah, if I can get me a refund check and get me some money so I can get a car and get some shoes, I'm going to do it. Right? That's what I did. And then years later, you're like, man, this debt kind of sucks. And you got people that are 50, 60 years old still unable to repay their student loans. Well, then you die with a negative net worth, which means game over. You worked your whole life. Congratulations. It's like you ran a marathon and moved backward 5 feet. Like, imagine that. You ran 26 miles, and literally at the end of the race, you are 5 feet behind the place where you started. Well, you might as well have stood still. That's the thing. So student loans are a tricky thing. I'm not a big fan of it. I think that in order for you to overcome the debt traps that do exist in this society, you're going to have to be creative. You're going to have to think different. Now, with that said, I want to remind everybody, by the way, that we have the All Black National Convention happening October 20th in Atlanta. The All Black National Convention is the #1 gathering of B1 people around the earth. The intelligent black people from around the globe come out. This year, we got Victory Boyd, the Rock Nation performer, and her whole family. They're coming back to perform this year. I'm super excited. We also have therapists. We have doctors, lawyers, professors, entrepreneurs, Julian Gordon, who helped black people acquire $250 million in real estate. No celebrity has ever done that. So the All Black National Convention is not a gathering of a bunch of Negroes that were on TV. The All Black National Convention is a gathering of people, and you can scroll down if you like, Quincy. This is a gathering of people that have solutions that are going to benefit the black community. So if you'd like to join us, you can go to allblacknationalconvention.com. That's allblacknationalconvention.com. Also, I put some information on my website, boycewatkins.com. And also a reminder, our podcast is on Spotify. So if you look up the name Boyce Watkins on Spotify, you will find it there. And I'm telling you, the convention is going to be amazing. Every year is extraordinary. Not only do people have a lot of fun, but you do a lot of learning and a lot of connecting, and you get a chance to form investment clubs, relationships, all that. Keisha Ravenel met her boyfriend 2 years ago at the convention. They got married a year later, and they're about to have a baby. So we're about to have a B1 baby that's born from the convention. So that's exciting to me. That's what I want to see. I want to see y'all getting together and making babies, but don't just be making babies with anybody. But that's cool. That's how you build a nation. That's nation building, y'all, in case you don't know. So anyway, one of the things I also want to mention too is I want to give a thanks to our sponsor for today's podcast, Body Nutrients. Body Nutrients, their website is bodynaturalnutrients.com/B1. They can help you with chronic inflammation and pain-free living. So feel free to get their natural solution. Take a look at that black-owned business and support them. If you'd like for us to shout out your black-owned business, then just go to drboycefinance.com. That's drboycefinance.com. And also, last but not least, if you'd like stock alerts from me every week, profit alerts on stocks that I like for the week, just text the word stock to 31996. Text stock to 31996. So, all right, guys, well, I'm going to get on out of here. God bless you. Thank you so much for listening. I had a great time. I love you. I appreciate you very, very much. And hit that thumbs up button on your way out. Make sure you subscribe. And we're going to come back to you with more great content and deep dive analysis on a lot of things happening in the world, in the blackosphere, because we are the best. We're the bomb. We're B1 for life.